Yo, Scrawny with the Skinny, back at it with another Fantasyland, back at it in 2024. Because I've gotten a few messages, a few replies in recent days asking, have you given up? Is Fantasyland dead? Have you admitted defeat in the face of Maniac's domination? And the answer is no, of course not, because I am the tried and tested, eternal top fiver when it comes to the Celebrity League and HLTV Fantasy. All right? I lost to Flom in my first season. I came fifth in the second season. I finished fourth in my third season, and I'm back for my fourth consecutive HLTV fantasy season in order to contest with the top yet again. All right? I see these one offs come and go. I remember when Flom won the first season. What happened to him? Darth Mike stole third place from me this season. I guarantee he won't do it twice. All right? Maniac's a problem. And nobody else has got the spine to stand up to this guy. And when I say problem, I mean a fierce competitor. With all due respect, Maniac got his flowers, almost won 2 seasons back to back. You know, where was Lucy for 3/4 of this previous season? Somebody's got to be the consistency in the fantasy, and that is me. I'm your guy. So I'm back. For you. I'm back for you. Hope you guys had a good Christmas holidays, New Year's, all that shebang. But Counter-Strike is back, 2024. Shall we? All right, shall we? A lot of the opinions that I have right now on Counter-Strike are obviously going to be based on a little bit of the previous season, the tail end of 2023, and then of course the only Counter-Strike we've had as of late is going to be the open qualifiers and closed qualifiers for the PGL Copenhagen RMR. So these are online results. Some teams I'm going to put a little bit of stock into just because of what I've seen personally from watching the games, and then other results. You know, I don't have fully fleshed out opinions on everybody at the moment, and there's a couple teams in this Blast circuit now that we just have no idea what they're up to, i.e., Falcon. So yeah, shall we? Let's do it. Blast is now suddenly a 4-group event. Blast Spring Groups, because we have added 4 teams to the Blast circuit. Thank God we have new teams finally at Blast. After I think like 3 years of essentially the same teams, we get 4 new additions in Falcons, Virtus Pro, Spirit, and Gamer Legion. Now, I was hoping for Mouse. You guys know me, I ride Mouse, but Gamer Legion outbid him. Because Gamer Legion got that $110 million Paris payout money, and Mao's didn't get a piece of that. So, well, they did, but you know what I'm saying. Uh, Vitality win back-to-back events to close out 2023, and I believe have properly integrated Mezzi at this point. Mezzi's first event with Vitality at the Fall Finals, he got absolutely carried to a trophy, and he knows it. Look what happened at World Finals, though. Finally, somebody gave Zywoo a little bit of competition, and Mezzi nearly took an MVP performance for Vitality, something that has never been done. Zywoo has every MVP for Vitality, and he, of course, nabbed it again. In the grand finals, he went above and beyond, as Zywoo does, in order to take it away from Mezzi. But I do think that this uptick, this quick uptick in Mezzi's performance, is evidence of his ability to take over servers at times. And I think that this means Vitality are the favorites to start 2024. Whoa, what a hot take. They will demolish OG. OG have again made uninspired roster moves throughout the offseason. I think that Heavy God is a little bit more exciting than, say, I don't know, Fasher. Sorry. Still, Keto's struggles are real. Fiku hasn't gone anywhere too special. It's just the same old OG with a slightly different mix that I again think are unfortunately not enough to really raise any eyebrows, and sure as hell aren't enough to stop Vitality in their opening game. So Vitality beat OG. Astralis play Falcons, and Astralis have been struggling, man. Stairs numbers are still mid. Jabby has not integrated well, and I think if we learned anything when Jabby moved from Copenhagen Flames to Heroic, it's that it took him some time to get integrated into a system. Now, we know that the Heroic system was quite unique at the time, and maybe it didn't flourish, but he's having the same struggles at the start of his Astralis career, and Stown, Blame F, and Device are a 3-player core that is good enough to win games. But does that system work? Blame F's ratings are always through the roof, but is it map winning impact that Blame F pulls off? Well, if Device has a cool game, if Stown has a cool game, two players that I think can go absent, this isn't an Astralis that I'm super convinced with still. In the face of Falcons, who obviously are one of the biggest dark horses for this first event of the year because we haven't seen any officials from them whatsoever, we don't know what Zonix has been cooking up. But I do believe in the motivation of each of these Falcons players. I do believe in Snappy and Zontic's ability to work together. Zontix. Uh, Zonic. What the hell? Uh, got Spirit on my mind. Um, Snappy and Zonix are going to be able to put something together, and I think that they should be able to do it fairly quickly because Magisk is really good at being a rock in these kinds of teams. Boros's potential is sky high, and at least Snappy still has Madden to work with and Sun Pius too, right? This is the core of Ents with Magisk and Boros. Is Boros Nerds? I don't think so. Not yet. And I think that his lack of experience could actually maybe hold them back at the start of all this. But maybe Magis kind of steps it up into place. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this one goes. But I'm going to say Falcons over Astralis just to be a little spicy. Vitality beat Falcons and Vitality top the group. Astralis will eliminate OG in last. And then a Falcons Astralis rematch. I'm going to take Falcons twice. I do think that one's pretty 50-50. It's hard to put any stock into it, really. Let's be real. But Vitality is where you should be putting your stock in terms of fantasy for this first event of the season. Don't be getting crazy. Don't be making bets on games at the start of the season. There's plenty of events to come where you can try to get a little spicy, but when we get to Group B, I think it's more of the same, right? FaZe are going to dismantle Gamer Legion the same way Vitality bust up OG. If Spirit did have Donk, this would have been one of the best opening games of the entire event, but unfortunately now I think that Liquid, even though they had a weird best of one loss to M80 back in the Americas RMR qualifiers, it's not perfect from Liquid, but who the hell would have expected this team to come together and be perfect out of the gate? You'd be a fool to believe in that. I have more faith in this Liquid than I did the one with Daps, Rainwaker, and OC. This Liquid, I think, has real potential for the season, and this could be an event where they just hit the ground running, get an upset over FaZe, potentially in an upper final, maybe even take the group final, who knows. But I expect close games no matter what from FaZe. Frozen's integration has looked okay. He's not getting his Mouse numbers. He probably won't, but he is a great fit for Twists, and this is still a roster that can win events, no doubt in my mind. So FaZe and Liquid, this could be a really exciting Group B in the end, but I'm still going to favor FaZe. If you're going to put any stock in a dark horse team, I think that it should be Falcons or it should be Liquid. You know what to expect with Liquid, but the question is which player could pop off. You don't know what to expect when it comes to Falcons, but I think that it's easier to maybe lean into, say, Sun Pius, or if you're really feeling frisky, tap into Boros. Group C. Now, this is a group where I think the bottom side of the bracket might actually end up taking over here, right? Ninjas, bro, Ninjas are barely a top 30 team in the world now. Let's be real. Let's say it how it is. This is a team that just continues to struggle in the face of teams with, I think, real potential and far better recent results. Now, G2 are still a little wishy-washy. We've got the Nexa inclusion. This is still a roster that many people thought was going to make additional changes. They haven't. They've stuck together for the start of this one, for this major cycle. It is the G2 that you see on paper. And I think G2 take it over Ninjas. Done. There's upset potential there because there's always upset potential that G2 could fuck something up. Complexity versus Navi, to me, was what Liquid versus Spirit could have been if Spirit had their full team. This is going to be sick. Navi have qualified for the RMR as clean as possible in Europe. Complexity have qualified for the RMR as clean as possible back in the Americas. They looked better than Liquid, in fact. They dismantled everybody that stood in front of them. All is good in the Complexity camp. JT's looking better than ever. I have heard that Elige may be under the weather. That's a little insider trading information for you. So, as of this recording, there's still a couple days before they'll have to be in the server. I still have faith in Complexity, but that is something to keep in mind. I think I was already leaning Navi just because, this is a Navi where Ima is starting to look good. Check this out. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to hold it until we get... No. Whoa. You saw nothing. I have more stock in Navi for now. I think Navi beat Complexity. I hate saying it out loud. It's a 50-50 game. It really is. So I'm going to say G2 and then Navi, and then Navi beat G2. Complexity will eliminate Ninjas. Complexity then beat G2. Whoa! G2 goes to the showdown, and then Complexity versus Navi for a rematch as the group final, dude. I think Complexity and Navi are the two teams that like I want to have faith in here. I think that if I'm not going to write off Vitality, if I'm not going to write off FaZe, then kind of G2 falls into that next line, and this is where I scratch them off. So this is the team. This is one of the favorites that I'm willing to scratch out for the group stage. Let's be real, man. Monacy and Nico could just absolutely take over a game as they can at any moment, and I could be wrong about this one, but I like where Navi is at the moment, and I like where Complexity is at the moment, and I want to recognize that faith in them early on this season by saying this in my predictions. Last but not least, Group D. Virtus Pro and Big. I think this group boils down to Virtus Pro versus Cloud9. I believe in VP. I'm glad they're at this. I'm glad they're at groups. I don't want to cast them. They're not the funnest team to cast. But fuck, you got to respect them, man. They play their game, and they play their game really well. And Flit is really cool to watch. It's a shame that Fame has fallen off as much as he has, because I felt like Flit and Fame were at the same level back when Outsiders won the Rio Major, and now it's not about Fame at all anymore. Flit has kept his rifling up, but I would say in terms of riflers, Norbert is actually the second best rifler on this team now, and it sounds crazy to say that out loud. Norbert is the second best rifler on Virtus Pro, but he is better than Fame and he is better than Mir. I think he's more consistent than them. He's got lower lows because sometimes Norby just tries to make shit happen and it costs him deaths. But yeah, even in their lost maps, it feels like Norbert's still getting his. So I say VP beat Big, Cloud9 beat Heroic. They just played C9 and VP. I'm going to say Virtus Pro beat them this time. VP take it over top. VP in the group final. Cloud9, Big eliminate Heroic. Cloud9 versus Big, a classic. A classic when it comes to Blast Circuit. Usually they meet in the showdown. I'm going to say Cloud9 beat Big. We get a Cloud9 VP rematch and VP takes it. So your tops of the groups are Virtus Pro, Navi, FaZe, Vitality. Nothing too crazy, nothing too exciting. Let's draft. Here's my team where it stands. This is the safest team that I think you could possibly make at the moment. Mezzi at 212. Apex is above 200,000 now. Apex is getting a little too expensive for my likings, but he's also got he's not just mid. He's got solid numbers. Frozen is the most affordable piece of FaZe and has higher potential than Rain. Because it's not a big playoffs game. We're talking about a group stage. I think this is actually where Frozen could end up thriving. Kerrigan shouldn't tank you too badly. And Lexi B, if you have faith in Navi like I do, is a solid choice at 188k. This is the safest thing you can make. If you just want to start the season and not get too crazy, if you want to think long-term fantasy for this season, I think this is the squad you guys should run. With that being said, let me take a little look here and give you some thoughts, okay? Thoughts. Let's clear the board. Here you have the performances at the Blast Premier World Final 2023. This is just the evidence of, again, Mezzi's second event with Team Vitality online. This is an event that Vitality dominate. They didn't drop a single map, if memory serves correct. And with FlameZ being 10th. That is all 5 of Vitality's players in the top 10 highest rated players at this event. Holy shit. Zywoo number 1. By a landslide. Mezzi in second because the grand finals slowed him down a little bit. Then you've got Apex, dude, nipping at the heels of Spinks, and he's been doing that even back at the fall finals where Mezzi was the lowest rated player. Apex was still in the middle of the pack and not far behind his fraggers. Apex is really thriving in CS2. He's been working out. He's looking good. He's feeling good. He's playing good. Apex, man, in-game leader of the year, and sky is the limit. Again, we check the Vitality stats of the last 3 months, and once more you see Mezzi at the bottom because of his poor performance back at Fall Finals. I'm pretty sure in the last 3 months, all this really is 8 maps at World Finals and probably 10 maps at the Blast Fall Finals. Both events that they ended up winning, both events that Zaiwu was the highest rated player. So now seeing Apex at 1.10 and Mezzi at 1.07, you see my original draft with those two players, and it's kind of like, it's not super inspiring when you want two players from Vitality. Maybe you want to splash an extra 1,000 and get Flamesy over Mezzi, but me personally, I have stock and faith in Mezzi getting something closer to his World Finals performance than his Fall Finals performance. And with that said, I think it's worth taking Mezzi. I've just got a good feeling with him in this one. And if you have to take two Vitality players, there is no shame in paying 202 for Apex nowadays. Remember back in the days when he was 185, 186, like the classic Kerrigan, Alexi B, Hooksy type price points. But Apex is now clearly a head above the rest. So to me, Mezzi and Apex, a double Vitality pick feels pretty necessary. Where you go from there is far more open, right? If you look at the phase guys, Brokey is, I would say, obviously more affordable than Rops. Rops is too expensive for my taste. And actually, for a second, let's just drop this because we need to revisit Zaiwu at 239. Boy, it's a lot. You get Zaiwu, right? But he just limits you everywhere else if you end up taking him. And I think that Spink's most reliable piece may be worth a little extra money, but saving the 10K on him, I think is worth it for an event like Groups, right? I expect Spinks to do greater things on stages. So Mezzi Apex, Kerrigan is nice coupled with a second phase player. Your choices really are Frozen and Rain. I think that you can go for middle of the pack players for events like these ones. Especially when Frozen's potential has yet to be really fully tapped into. And if you think back to, say, Mezzi and his uptick from the first event to the second to potentially the third with Vitality, I believe that Frozen can be put in that category as well. And we should see him starting to rise to the heights of, at the very least, Brokey's statistical performances. I think Rops will still stay ahead of him. Rops is just such an integral piece of phase in their playstyle. But Frozen, he'll get there. He'll put more of a distance between him and Rain at the start of this year, I believe. Now, if you want to skip phase and you slide on down to Navi, I think that that's a really tantalizing, choice because Alexi's still sitting outside 200. But you could compare Alexi to Apex, where I think CS2s look really good on him. He's had some beautiful rifle moments. I think sometimes Alexi B just has like a really bad map. Maybe he's trying to call too hard, and he just really starts dropping the ball. Dying too easily and whatnot. So that's why he's 188 and not 200K. But the other price points of the rest of Navi, very interesting, right? There's nobody above 220,000. You can get Wonderful or Bit for the mid-teens. And then JL and EMA are particularly interesting as well because they're still both under 210. And when we look at the last 3 months of Navi, we see that EMA is finally getting there. All right, 22 maps played for Navi, and EMA is on par with Bit and Wonderful. It's starting to happen. What we've been waiting for was a showing from EMA that was comparable to the Blast Paris Major, where he almost made a run over Zaiwu for MVP, but then again, Grand Finals makes a world of difference, and Zaiwu stole it away. So EMA's getting there. And for him to be getting these sorts of numbers, yes, drafting him would bank on your belief in Navi, but I think that their group is pretty open. Remember, we're talking about G2 versus Ninjas to start that, and an opening game against Complexity. Now, because it's Complexity, I have about as much faith in Complexity as I do Navi, and I think that makes this group a little messy and difficult to predict, which is why I don't really want to go for a double Navi because I feel like it could end up haunting you. But if you did go double Navi, I think that because of Ime's performances as of late, right? This is one of those drafts where you're starting the season with a little bit of a risk, a slight twist in emphasis on Navi. You could just take Ime and avoid Alexi, and then if things start to go poorly, it's not too rough. So a single Navi pick in Ime is pretty interesting. If you double Navi pick, then you're working with 196 after the fact. You can actually spend that extra money on Flamesy instead if you want, because with 196, your options are already limited. This is one of those drafts where I think the difference between having 190 or having $200,000 isn't that big of a difference, right? JT, like Alexi B, looking better in CS2. But again, if we're going on the Navi train, then I think that's at the detriment of your belief in Complexity, and to play both would be a bit foolish. Boomich is in there. You know, Chopper or Snappy. Again, we're playing like high risk IGLs. Big isn't a team I want to touch. Gamer Legion's not a team I want to touch. Astralis isn't a team I want to touch. Ninjas, no. OG, no. Liquid at this point are all unaffordable because every single player is between 204 and 206. Liquid is the most interesting choice here because, again, it would have to be at the detriment of FaZe. So with this draft in a double Navi or a single Navi player, I think it opens the door between whether you want to go for FaZe or Liquid. I think Vitality is the must, and then your question is FaZe or Liquid, Complexity or Navi. And the choice is yours. If we go back down to Liquid, all the way at the bottom, hidden down here with Heroic, who again I'm not going to touch. You could mess around with somebody in here, man. But the question is just which player, right? I don't think it's worth going double Liquid. But at this price point, it's like any single one of them is tantalizing. But I just don't know which one of them's going to play best. Twists has had incredibly high peaks before, and his price point back on FaZe, like, I mean, it was pretty usual that Twist would be around 220k. We've never seen Skulls at 220k. We've seen Yakinder towards 220 when he joined Liquid, but that's not the Yakinder we have nowadays, and his playstyle has changed significantly. He is a much slower player now. Twists has been up there. NAF has been around 210. Cadian usually sits around 206, 210. I feel like if you're going to pick anybody, it should be Twists. And if you do that with Alexi B as an interesting point, then again you're at 193, and again your choices are limited. So it's just a tough fantasy event, I think, to kind of pull off something too fancy. But that's why this formula here really feels far too simple to pass on. You go double Vitality, double FaZe, good choice in Frozen, who has serious potential. Kerrigan should not sink you, and you get the Alexi B Navi train. And there's an alternative here as well. If you don't believe in Navi and you don't believe in Alexi, then I say nab JT. You get him for the same price. You can also put him on support just like Alexi B. His activation is super comparable. So I think you're looking at a double Vitality, double FaZe, plus Alexi or JT. And if you want to not play FaZe, then I think the alternatives would be double Navi, cut Complexity. You can get an Emet Alexi, 196 left over, 196 again. You fall towards JT, but that's just kind of redundant. And I just don't know where to go, dude. Like a part of me would think Head Trick, but I don't believe in ninjas. I don't believe in Heroic, even though I do like Shush. Your options feel so limited with just the prices of everybody at the moment. You could go for extra money here, go Spinks, Apex, Emet, Alexi, 185. You throw Kerrigan in. I mean, you could go for like the uninspired FaZe pick, just take Kerrigan. If you only want Kerrigan because he's at least a player from FaZe that you think is going to win, and just it frees up a lot of money. So I think you could arguably get Kerrigan just for the sake of price points. But the choice is yours, folks. I think this is the safest bet at the moment. But again, with Alexi instead of JT. That's 25 minutes of rambling about HLTV Fantasy brought to you by Scrawny. You're watching you're watching Fantasyland, a non-HLTV affiliated fantasy content. And yeah, it feels good to be back. So best of luck out there, guys. Don't make mistakes.